Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Book Gentlemen, the podcast where we use our decades of being giant nerds to debate the most divisive issues in the comic book industry. I'm your host, Greg. I'm joined always by Dave.
How are you?
Good. Dave, we were able to do something a month ago that we haven't done in a long time.
Yes, it felt like the first time.
Feels like the first time.
Exactly.
We went to the theater to see a new movie.
Yes.
And what movie did we see, Dave?
We saw a movie
Yeah.
called The New Mutants.
The New Mutants. A movie I thought would never get released.
Yes. I'm still in shock that it was actually that I actually saw it.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because we saw it in the most obviously they're just barely reopening movie theaters. It was maybe 2 people per row type of thing. It wasn't even full.
Yeah.
It was a definitely interesting movie. The theater looked like it was what a theater usually looks like a month down the road when you go see a new movie.
Yes. After it's been out for a couple months.
Yeah, but no, this was day one, and there's only 4 people in there. It was great.
It was good.
We decided since we saw New Mutants, we thought this was a great opportunity to talk about New Mutants. We're gonna talk about New Mutants, and we figured it'd also be a good time to talk about X-Men by Fox.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about, we're going to go through each of their movies, what we thought about them, how we rank them.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of go from there and talk about what do we want from Disney's version of Fox, and what can Disney learn from Fox, their failures or their successes, and fix it from there. So let's start off with New Mutants since it's fresh in our minds.
Yep.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
For people who haven't seen it yet. Do you recommend they go see this movie?
I would personally recommend any of these kind of movies. I would always recommend go see it in the theater because it's always nice to see it on the big screen, especially with movies that are so special effects intense. Yeah. From a movie standpoint, I would say watch it. Definitely see it, but don't rush to the theater to go see it if you're not a theater goer. That's kind of where I would put it. It's definitely worth seeing, pretty much any movie that Fox or Marvel have put out as far as superhero movies, with the exception of Fantastic Four. But I wouldn't say rush, especially if you're not an overly huge fan of the characters. If you're going there expecting to learn who the characters are and what it's all about, I think you're going to be lost to some degree. As a fan, knowing who the characters were, it was great to see them on the big screen. Special effects. It was an experience. Plus, it was overwhelming to actually go to a theater after 6 months.
Yeah, I think
that played a big factor.
I think that definitely helped.
Yeah,
because it's not like we had Black Widow or Wonder Woman to compare it to. This was literally one of the only movies we've seen this year. So it's oh my gosh, anything would be great at this point.
Yeah.
My no spoiler review of it is I think this is definitely wait till it's on streaming.
Yeah.
Hey, if it's on Netflix, I recommend checking it out on Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever it ends up on. Check it out. It's a decent movie, but don't kill yourself to go see it. If you live in a place that's COVID ridden, hey, you're fine. You can wait a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was our spoiler free. If you either want to wait to watch it now or you don't care, we're gonna start talking spoilers about New Mutants, the movie that just came out this year. So Dave, what'd you think of the movie? Spoilers.
Spoilers are coming. I thought I was impressed with some of the casting of the characters. Really happy with some of them. The movie itself, as it was continually pitched as this kind of horror themed movie, I was super excited to say, okay, geez, a superhero movie with a horror theme.
Yeah.
This is different. And then I found myself sitting there waiting to be frightened.
Yeah. It's very interesting because it's one of those movies where it's you can see what they were trying to do, but they just missed that execution.
Yeah,
and it's it almost makes it worse because it's man, this would have been such a good movie if they had nailed the landing, but because they stumbled and it's you let me down type of thing.
Yeah.
I'll agree. I think the casting was really good. Most of the characters were very interesting.
Yeah.
The storyline. The storyline's interesting because it was kind of just. It's Demon Bear, but very, I don't know what, like, it's very toned down Demon Bear.
Yeah, very much so.
Like, I did read Demon Bear before I watched the movie and whatnot, and Demon Bear is actually pretty good. Like, I'm not usually a big fan of 80s comics, because it's whatever, for whatever, we'll get into that in different podcasts, but, like, I actually thought Demon Bear was a really good storyline.
Yeah.
And then this movie was just more focused on just them hanging out, which would be fine, except they toted it as a horror movie.
Yeah.
And then there was no scares. So it's like you're sitting there trying to watch a superhero movie, but there's barely any superheroing doing. And then you're sitting there trying to watch a horror movie, there's no horror stuff going on. So it just ends up being a super flat movie the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like that. Like your comment on them missing the mark is very accurate, because even on the cheap scares where they just like shock you, real quick, they even missed on that.
Yeah.
Like the few times they tried it, it didn't even land.
Yeah. Like, I feel like if they had doubled down on the horror, this would have been such a good movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's kind of like the way they were going with Logan and Deadpool. Like, Deadpool was kind of like, oh, let's double down on the humor, and now it's great. Now, Logan was like, let's double down on the drama. Okay, it's great. This, if it double down on the horror, would have been a really good show.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
My biggest gripe with this movie, and it could have been just one of those situations where, Fox didn't want to pay a lot of money for it, or, they knew they were getting transitioned to Disney, so they didn't want to put a lot of money. There was only, like, 6 people in this movie.
Yes.
Like, it was the most weirdly, like, it really takes you out of the movie when you realize they're supposed to be in a hospital or, like, a containment facility.
Somewhere,
with one adult.
Yeah.
That's running this entire facility.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? You're telling me she's just gonna sit there and hang out with like 6 teenagers, and then that's all she's gonna do?
Yeah.
For like, that seems ridiculous.
And
to me.
there were like hints of like of aspects that were like, oh, okay, maybe something's gonna, like, someone or something's gonna show up, or you're gonna get like a glimpse of someone that you weren't expecting to see, and that just never happened.
No. Like, they were trying to push the whole Essex Corporation, which they laid the groundworks for in Deadpool 2 and Age of Apocalypse, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you could see they're like trying to push that thread, but then like probably while they were building up to that thread, they were told, oh no, never mind, we're scrapping it. So they just like kind of let it go. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, and the other thing that I found really weird is they not only were they doing that, they were also trying to tie it to Logan, which they actively took footage from Logan and put in the movie. Yeah. When they were, because apparently the doctor was one of the doctors, or at least one of the kids that was in the Mexican mutant growing program. Yeah. So it's like they were also trying to link it to Logan that way, and it just completely felt so weird because it was like an actual direct footage from Logan. Like they didn't even bother to reshoot anything. It was just so weird. But it did have good moments, like you said. Like I think all the casting was great. Even if it was just there's just not enough casting. And then I do think at the very end, when they finally had like the Demon Bear show up and they had the Smiling Men show up, the graphics were really good.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was that was probably the best part of the movie. Even though when you got to that point, you were kind of like, this isn't making any sense, or it's just kind of there. But then if you just kind of like forgot the last 60 minutes of movie and just enjoyed that for what it was great. Like I thought a couple of the characters were certainly much better than a couple of the others, but all of them pretty good. Like I wasn't disappointed with the casting, and I wasn't disappointed with the acting.
No, it was all pretty good. It was just the story was weird.
Yeah,
and there was just the world building was a little bit weird because there's no people.
Yeah.
The other thing that really not ticked me off, but took me out of the movie experience is, so like you follow Danny Moonstar, who's brand new to the facility, and then you have all the other kids kind of telling her like this is how it goes and whatnot. But then like they constantly show in the background, or they constantly go to this massive graveyard with so many tombstones,
lots
that
of
have like just numbers on them, which all of them are numbered. So it's like you can put 2 and 2 together. These are all dead ass mutants,
which is kind of harkening back to the miniseries 186, where like all the mutants had been kind of eliminated due to the Scarlet Witch. But it was just like okay, you're in a facility. Like I could understand the aspect that they were trapped in there. So you just at some point you're just going to accept stuff. But I mean, the fact that there's graves everywhere, and then there were comments about them going like, oh, they graduated and moved on, and there's just like graves everywhere. It's like, no, I don't think they graduated.
Like they were trying, like at the beginning of the movie, they were definitely trying to be like, oh, it's just we're trying to help you and whatnot. But it's like so obviously evil. It was like you have to be an absolute moron to not understand that you are gonna die here.
Yeah. and what I did appreciate though about the character aspect of it is they didn't turn around and like it wasn't like, hi, I'm Danny Moonstar, who are you? And it was like, oh, hi, I'm Cannonball. Oh, here, let me give you a quick rundown on my past, and here's my power set, and this awkward, weird conversation. They just did a really subtle, good job of kind of introducing the powers without actually giving you any indication as to what the powers were. So, like, if you were a new fan that was like, I know nothing about the New Mutants or any of these characters, you might have left the theater going like, who the hell and what could those people do? Because they just didn't do that, which I appreciated. The fact that it was just a subtle hint at certain aspects of their background and why they were why they were there, who they were, and what their power sets were, without doing this like, montage of background story that eat up 45 minutes of the movie. It was just subtly kind of massaged in there, and I thought that was for the writing and the story being not exactly top shelf. I thought that they did well.
No, it was very good. Like it's a very interesting movie because they did so many things right, but then they did so many things wrong. And personally, I feel like most of the things that they did wrong could have been fixed with money. Like, I feel like if this hadn't been a Fox where they're just getting rid of the X-Men, but if it had been like Disney, like, hey, here's a new project, let's do the X-Men and do New Mutants, I feel like that would have been so good. Like, they would have had the budget, they could have had, assistant staff and they could have more than one location, and it just would have been such a better movie. But now I feel like because they've done it and, it failed, air quotes, by Disney, they're never going to touch these characters again. Or if they are, it's going to be like 20 years from now type of thing. So, I don't know. But go see the New Mutants, but don't kill yourself to go see it. But it's an interesting movie. That, like we said, we were like, hey, we saw New Mutants. This is a great time to then talk about the legacy of the X-Men movies. Some great ones, some terrible ones, some ones we don't talk about. So what we did is we found a ranking tier list on Tier Maker. The only one it's missing is New Mutants, so we'll kind of just force that one in there. So I made a list, Dave made a list, and we're kind of just going to go through, how do we rank the movies? What do we like about them? What do we hate about them? And then after we're done this, we're going to go, okay, so what can Marvel learn and what can they do to do better? Or it's not Marvel. What can Disney learn to do better with the movies? So we're going to go chronological based on release. So let's start with X-Men 1, the one that started it all. What year was it? 2001? 2000?
I can't even remember.
I think it was 2001.
It was. I remember going to see this movie. We actually traveled to another city to go to the theater to see it in a bigger theater, because at the time I think it was like that and Spider-Man were the two movies that were coming out, and we were like super hyped to go see it. Especially with the fact that I think like the two lead characters that you would know as far as actors were like Halle Berry at the time and would be Halle Berry,
Patrick Stewart, I guess.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, and the rest of them were like these just other people.
They're just there.
I'd seen in other movies and whatnot, but super hyped to go see it. And certainly left a lasting impression on me as far as like this was like the new wave of superhero movies that were coming out that were like just awesome and getting better and better every time they put them out.
No, it definitely started. I feel like it was one of the early really good ones. Where like back in the day, like you had Daredevil and you had Elektra that were really rough, but then you always had X-Men. You had Spider-Man, like you're saying, that were really good. When it came, so it did come out in 2000. I was 6 when it came out.
Oh, jeez.
So I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it like on VHS or TV when it came on eventually. And I remember like it was really cool, but man, when they give Senator Kelly the like stretchy powers or whatever, that scared the crap out of me. I was like, that was so weird, and I was like, I don't like this at all. But other than that, I had a great time. Oh, and Rogue. Whenever Rogue would like grab anybody and like suck the life force, I was like, oh, what the hell's going on? Because this is also back when I didn't know a lot about X-Men. Like this is when I was first getting into TV shows, because there was the 90s X-Men, which was pretty good, and then the year after this, or a couple years after this, is when X-Men Evolution came out, and that was kind of my especially getting introduction to X-Men.
Yeah.
And so so this was very much my who's Toad, who's Cyclops and all that stuff. So it's definitely one of those movies, and it's interesting to talk about now because like we said, when it first came out, it was so groundbreaking for superheroes. But now if you go back to watch it, it's a little bit rough.
Oh yeah, very much so. And I mean, I look at it as one of those movies. It's like if you had today's budget of what they throw at these movies, that movie would have been crazy good.
Oh yeah.
But I think it was one of those movies where they were like, we're gonna do it, we'll see if it works.
Yeah.
You could see where there were certain aspects of the movie where they just really didn't go all out with. You never really saw Storm fly really per se. She flew, but it was always in a limited space.
Yeah.
Because you could just tell that the budget just wasn't there on special effects and everything else. But for its time and considering the budget and considering it was the kickoff film, I give it a lot of leeway when I'm comparing it to Endgame.
Yeah.
Or some of the ones that you're seeing now.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing, we gave New Mutants praise for this as well. This also balanced a lot of characters.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was very good about we don't have to explain every single character's backstory. We don't have to explain how every single character's powers work. However, the ones that are kind of the main focal point of the stories, then you kind of got to know them better and whatnot. Yeah. Storm is you never learn about Storm's past, but you know who Storm is and what her power set is, and you're good to go type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think from a casting standpoint, I always felt Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart were too old to play the roles that they were playing.
Oh, really?
Were they good actors? Did they do a good job? Yes. I just always felt like they were too old.
Oh.
Especially as the franchise started moving forward, and it's okay, it looks like I could knock over Magneto with a heavy breath.
Yeah.
But I always felt they were too old, but great actors, so they did a good. I always felt like they did a good job. I felt like Toad was completely missed the mark on Toad because Toad is just this. This type of character that you just feel bad for because he's just tread on all the time. And they tried to make him hip and cool and a martial artist kind of thing.
He's Darth Maul, man.
He's Darth Maul.
He's Darth Maul.
So, I kind of felt like they missed the mark there. The casting for Cyclops I was okay with. Halle Berry as Storm, sure. I think they've done a better job in the later films with the younger version of her. Sabretooth was pretty much a relative unknown, which was unfortunate because he's a great villain and adversary. Of course, I think the area where they hit the mark for me, and initially I was like, who is this joke of a Wolverine? Was Hugh Jackman, because I was like, look, he's so skinny.
Yeah.
He's tall. What the hell? And, then I went and saw the movie and I was like, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I like this guy.
This is good.
I like this guy.
Yeah. Wolverine, obviously Wolverine is a standout because of what they do with him for the rest of the movies. But, I definitely think casting was a big part of this.
Yeah.
I'll agree. I just said, they were really good about making sure all the characters kind of got with their moment. There are some they had to, not spend a lot of time with. They kind of got the short end of the stick. But that's just how that happens with this big of a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this was a pretty good movie. So the way we have the ranking going, at the very top we have the best. I will watch these all the time. Just below that we have pretty good. I won't go out to watch it, but I enjoy it and I'll watch it when I can. Just below that is maybe if I'm bored, I have nothing else to watch, I'll throw this on. Below that I have Once Was Enough. I saw it once, I'm good. And then the very bottom is we don't talk about this. We pretend it doesn't exist. We move on. Yeah. So where do you have X-Men 1?
I have it as maybe if I'm bored.
Maybe if I'm bored? Okay.
Yeah.
I have it a little bit higher than that. I have it pretty good. But I think maybe that's I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
But I remember it it's a pretty solid movie. It has some good moments, especially for its time. I think that's always the caveat with this one is especially for its time.
Yeah.
So why do you have it maybe if I'm bored?
It was just because of the lack of grandiose budget, because you saw a significant difference between the first and the second one.
Yeah.
Right, and that was just purely like, oh wow, we struck gold with this thing with a limited budget. Now, we'll ramp it up a little more.
Yeah.
And they just, like all the superhero movies, they just got better and better and better and better as they started going on, because they just started chucking more cash at it, and special effects started getting better and everything else. So I think from that standpoint, it's like, for me, it's like going back and watching the old Superman movies. With Christopher Reeve, it's like I enjoy them. It harkens back to my childhood watching this character and this actor play this character, and then now I go back and I watch it and I'm like, holy wow,
it's rough.
It's rough, but it still means something to me.
So speaking of the next movie, like you mentioned, X2.
Yeah.
So I had an issue with this one. Like, X2 is a pretty good movie. Like you said, it had a way better budget, way better special effects and whatnot. I think it was only like 2 or 3 years after. My biggest gripe with it, and maybe this is one of those situations because I've seen all the X-Men movies now, it's like just kind of what it became. Yeah. I feel like they focused too much on Wolverine. Yeah. Like, I feel like what they should have done with this movie is, give some of the other characters a chance.
So what you're saying is they did exactly like what all the comics do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where it's like, everybody loves Wolverine. Yeah. He's in that comic.
Throw. It's all about Wolverine.
You got Moon Knight comic, throw Wolverine in there. DC, throw Wolverine in there. So, like, I feel like that's my main issue with X2 compared to X1. It feels like X1 still had, it had more diversity. It focused a lot more on Rogue. It had a lot more stuff with Magneto and Professor X and whatnot, whereas X2 was like just a Wolverine story and everybody else was just kind of along for the ride. Yeah, is like my biggest grip with it. But yeah, what did you think?
I thought the characters that they introduced, like Nightcrawler, was one of my favorite.
Nightcrawler was really good.
Right up there with Wolverine and a few others. So I was so happy, especially that opening scene where he's running through the White House. Like, that was just awesome. And then the snippets of when they're attacking the mansion. And you have all these snippets of these other characters like Colossus and everything else. Like, I was just like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And then it, really hyped me up for the third one. I will get there. Yeah. But it really hyped me up for the third one. I didn't mind the arc for, the movie as far as being Wolverine heavy, because I think at that point Hugh Jackman had kind of really started to lift off with like Swordfish and some of the other movies he'd done, and of course was getting a lot of he was obviously praised for the job of Wolverine. So I didn't so much mind that. It was just, I think for me, it was just a mishmash of the storyline. You could see they were going Wolverine heavy, but they were kind of introducing a little bit of the Dark Phoenix kind of thing, filtering in there a little bit. But the other characters, to your point, were kind of just like side characters that really didn't matter for the most part. But I still enjoyed it because of I think the characters that they brought in to flesh out the team, like Nightcrawler, that I was just like, one of my favorites. Thank you.
And then like they had Iceman and Pyro's relationship was very interesting.
Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, like having young mutants discuss and decide, are you following Magneto or are you following Xavier, was a very interesting discussion. Yes. Yeah. And I think that's really cool. I just feel like, again, it's not something they gave a lot of time to because Wolverine needed more screen time.
We needed to put Hugh Jackman on the screen as much as possible.
And then you also had this movie. Another thing about this movie that I found really good, it was like the first movie you had, Brotherhood of Mutants versus Xavier, but then in the second movie you had them join forces to fight a third evil, which I thought was a good mix up. Yep. Like I definitely think that's pretty interesting because then, like you said, you got the clash of like we're still similar, but we have common enemies, but we still fight each other type of thing. Like you even had the Mystique conversation with Nightcrawler about like, or Nightcrawler saying like, oh, you can turn into beautiful, but then Mystique's like, I already am beautiful, shut up. Type of thing. So like it had really good potential. I just feel like it got weighed down by how much Wolverine was in it. Yeah. So what was your ranking?
My ranking was I want to say this one was let me just bring up my list here. It was in the rank of pretty. I actually ranked this exactly the same as the first one.
Oh, really?
I'll watch it if I'm bored. Again, I guess the reason why I put it there was because I was like, it's better, but it's still wasn't there.
No,
like especially with the tease of some of the characters that they had there, like Colossus and Iceman, and they used them a little bit, but not enough because I was like, they get you hyped because like, oh my god, they're in it. And then they just didn't really do anything with them.
Yeah. I had it as maybe if I'm bored, I'll check it out, which is below X1. Although after talking about it, I might flip the two. I might put X2 a little bit above, but I think maybe if I'm bored is reasonable. So now we get on to those two are pretty good. Now we get on to the first giant turd that Fox laid with the X-Men movie, which is X-Men United? What is it? X-Men United? Last Stand. There we go. No, X2 is X-Men United. There we go. So Last Stand. What happened?
What happened, I'm guessing, is they were like, first one, great. Did well. Second one, even more. Do you know what? Third one's got to be amazing if we just chuck more mutants and shit into this. And so they just went with it was like they were baking chocolate chip cookies, and they were following the recipe for the first one, and then the second one they were like, what if we put in more chocolate chips?
That's great.
Hey, great. And then all of a sudden they were like, hey, what if we cut out the rest of the cookie, just put in chocolate chips, and then just add a little bit of the other ingredients? And it was, in all honesty, just god awful.
Oh, it was bad.
It was god awful. The fact that they killed off Cyclops in the first, I don't even know how long he was in the film, was just absolutely ridiculous.
He must be so mad. Because in the first one, the only reason he was there was so he could glare at Wolverine. In the second one, the only reason he was there is so that Jean Grey kind of had a reason not to go to Wolverine. But she didn't really, but, she kind of did. And then the third one, he just died. James Marsden, he's great now. He has a lot of success now, but he must be so salty about that.
Oh yeah, especially and he's for people that follow the X-Men, enjoy the X-Men. I actually like Cyclops. I actually like him as a character, and not because he's an overly great character or he's a dynamic. It's just he's just a rock of a character for the comic books. But I like the actor that they had cast, and I was just like, wow, you just did absolutely nothing with it. Oh, he's dead.
Oh, 2 seconds later.
Oh, he's gone. So, and then I just felt like after that, it was just like, how many mutants can we cram into this movie?
It was pretty crazy.
Juggernaut was a joke.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Juggernaut was a joke.
I had a great time.
I did appreciate the Beast. In the sense of I like the fact they had the Beast in the movie, and that was cool. But the fact that they had Kelsey Grammer play him, I was like, what? It was just a flop right across the board. And I mean, the only way they would have served any justice to that movie is not only Wolverine killing Phoenix at the end, but then he just goes berserk and killed everybody else to finish off the franchise. Would have been just great.
Just Old Man Logan.
Just
Old Man Logan.
So bad.
I feel like. And this is very quintessential early 2000s superhero movies, because Spider-Man 3 had the exact same. There were so many different storylines they were trying to shove into here. Because they had the Cure. They had Dark Phoenix. And then they had, they still had the Magneto versus Xavier thing. They had so many different threads. Because the first one, all you had was Xavier versus Magneto. Second one, you had Weapon X. And then this one had I think you said as many mutants as we can, and as many storylines as we can as well.
And then even mutants that I don't even know who they were.
Spike.
They were just they were just making guys up. It was hey, we can't think of we only have years and years and decades of comics to drag mutants from. Let's just make some up because there's just I can't think of anybody to use.
They basically were we need a MacGuffin to find somebody, so let's make a random mutant to find somebody.
Just bad.
It was kind of a train wreck. The one shining spot for me, because you could tell a lot of them were kind of just done with the franchise. Hugh Jackman, you could tell, especially that one was very he comes back and has great showings later. But in the third one, he just wasn't given it. Halle Berry was just I'm there.
Just checked out.
But actually, I loved Famke Jensen as Dark Phoenix. She was okay as Jean Grey, but then when she actually went evil and was psycho and whatnot, I thought that was really cool. She was very dark and I will murder all of you if I feel like it, everything. I like that. I enjoyed that.
I thought the bright spot of the movie were the credits, because then I knew this experience was over. It was just so bad.
Were there end of credit scenes back then?
I don't even know and don't care.
I don't remember.
It was so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It's definitely So like what like yeah, I think it was too many mutants,
Yeah.
too many threads, and just it just kind of shit the bed. So where do you rank this?
I ranked it in like I'm trying to forget that it existed.
Really?
Ever existed.
I have it a little bit above that. I have it Once Was Enough. You know, I feel like you needed it just to finish the trilogy of the original 3.
Sure.
And, like, it still sucked. I mean, you could have ended on X2, but I feel like it still sucked.
Okay, so it finished the trilogy, and then they went and screwed the timeline up anyway, so what does it really matter?
You're right. The third one, The Last Stand, is not good. So now we had the first 2 really good.
Yeah.
Third one was a dumper. So now you have Fox going, okay, maybe what we'll do is we'll start splitting off into individual mutants.
Yeah.
You know, we'll give them their own time to shine. Wolverine didn't get enough time to shine in the first 3, so let's give him his own movie.
Yeah.
And that's when you come up with Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have.
They shouldn't have. There's so, like... This is the like we think Last Stand is bad for like not giving mutants enough time to shine and whatnot. The problem with X-Men Wolverine Origins Wolverine is they give these mutants time to shine, but they just shit their characters so hard that you feel personally attacked.
Yeah, like the only thing good about that was that they didn't like the only way they could have made that movie worse was to recast Wolverine with somebody else.
Yeah.
Like
at least he was in the movie.
Like George Costanza from friggin'
yeah.
I just don't. It was just so bad. And it was unfortunate because like when I first saw some of the casting of it, and they were like, okay, so Wade Wilson, of course, your Deadpool. Oh, Ryan Wilson. Ryan Reynolds. Sorry. Yeah. Ryan Reynolds is like, he had just come off of like Van Wilder and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, that guy's funny. He's so good. He was in the Blade movies. Good.
That movie was terrible, but it was
he was funny as shit. Yeah. The movie was terrible.
Yeah.
But I like him. I'll watch anything that guy's in. It was just like they were like, we're gonna tease everything that you like and then just shit all over it.
Bad. Was it Juggernaut that got fat and in a boxing?
No, that was the Blob.
That was the Blob, but he was just such a joke. And then they had Gambit, right?
Sorta.
Didn't they? I don't remember this movie.
No,
I just remember it's terrible.
It's forgettable.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's so forgettable.
My favorite part of the
movie. They had the lead singer from or one of the singers from Black Eyed Peas was in it, and he was playing some character I'd never heard of before.
Wait,
it was so bad.
Will.i.am?
Yeah. It was so bad. It was just bad.
Like, I barely remember this movie because that's how bad it is. I'm like, don't get it out of my head.
The one thing that they nailed, like if they would have done a proper Deadpool, nailed the casting, obviously. Wolverine, they already nailed that one.
Still great.
I actually liked the guy that they cast for Sabretooth.
Yeah.
I thought he was great.
Yeah. My favorite part of the movie was actually the beginning where they're showing him and Sabretooth going through all the wars.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Shout out to Wolverine, The Origins, the comic book, which is they go through a lot. I think that was really cool. But then it just they montage that.
Yeah.
And then it just goes so downhill from there. Like, it's so egregious what they do with so many characters. Like,
it was just bad.
It's for sure the worst X-Men movie of all time. And I have it as pretend it doesn't exist.
There was one moment in that movie that at the time didn't really mean anything, and now means so much because it was probably one of the funnier moments in Deadpool. We'll get to that.
Yeah. I was gonna say the exact same thing. I knew exactly where you were going. I was like, yep, that's very true. Wolverine Origins. Yeah. X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
Huge shit show. They then scrap all of their plans for other individual movies.
Yeah.
I think they had a Gambit one on the way that they scrapped. They probably had a Storm one. They were like, nope, never mind.
Yeah.
So then they start reverting back to team movies.
Yeah.
But this time they decide, hey, let's go back in time, Get some young people to play.
Well, where are we rating this one?
Oh, sorry.
I think you can tell.
I said pretend it doesn't exist for.
I don't go as far as pretending.
It just for sure
just doesn't.
It doesn't exist
Yeah,
except for when Deadpool.
There's a whole other category for this movie.
Except for when Deadpool wants to troll it, then it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's bad. Don't even. It doesn't count. Like if count. Disney learned from that. Like I still think having individual movies is fine. Like we'll get into that when we talk about a couple other ones. Like you can do well with them, but like this one was just so egregious.
Yeah.
So the next one that came out was X-Men First Class. So they wanted to reboot the series, bring in some new people, bring in some new mutants, set it in the 60s, you know, do that type of thing. What did you think of X-Men First Class?
Intrigued initially because of the characters that they were bringing into First Class.
Yeah.
Havoc, Pixie. There was just some characters that I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. Yeah. I'm kind of curious to see where they go with this. It was, and then the casting, like having some of the people that they had to come in and play some of these roles. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. That's even more interesting. I think they missed the boat on the villain with Kevin Bacon.
Oh, really?
Because wasn't I like Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. But yeah, it was just one of those movies that I think I was just on such a downward spiral with the X-Men films that I was just like, I went into this one and I was like, oh, please can we just make it out of this like with a mediocre rating at least? And it was not my casting aside was not I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was hoping that I would.
Interesting. I had very opposite of you. Like I don't think this is the best X-Men movie of all time, but I definitely have a more positive outlook on it because I think it's like you come from Last Stand, so it's like a lot of things can look better than Last Stand. Oh, yeah. So like I enjoyed this a lot. It also did one of the quintessential X-Men things that I love personally, like one of my favorite storylines, which is we have a bunch of new mutants. Let's see if they can figure out their powers, and let's see if they can figure out their drama and come together and fight the enemy. Like those are always my favorite storylines in the comic book. Right. And this feels like the first movie where it actually took the time to take a group of mutants and go, okay, Banshee, let's learn how to use your powers. Maybe shout at the ground. You can fly. Yeah. Like Beast, let's see how fast you can run. Holy crap, you're pretty good. That type of stuff. Like I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I actually did like Kevin Bacon as Shaw.
Yeah.
I thought he was fine. I thought but the one I didn't like the most was Emma Frost. I feel like she kind of got shafted. I feel like she could have gotten a lot because Emma Frost was such an iconic character. That was like brutal. Like she was just there to be eye candy, and that was very sad.
Yeah.
It had the storylines of like, okay, who do you agree with? Do you agree with Shaw, or do you agree with Xavier? I thought that was very interesting. And then you also had the conversation of Magneto versus Xavier start blooming.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So like I feel like
two great actors playing.
Oh yeah. Too. Like Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy were amazing. Like, if Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, if they weren't that good, like these two would have blown them out of the water for sure. But because they're also good, like these guys lived up to that.
Yeah.
And then you also had why am I blanking on her name now? Mystique. Jennifer Lawrence, who at the time was first coming out. You had Hunger Games, you had the other movie with Bradley Cooper and whatnot, and she's just coming out. She's putting all her effort into this, and she actually did such a good job. Like she had such a good storyline and whatnot. Which again it's also a storyline with Mystique, which is a character I've never cared about before. And suddenly like I actually cared about Mystique. Like it was very good. Like I personally like this movie. I ranked it. Maybe if I'm bored. Like I don't think it's pretty good. Like it's almost there. Mm-hmm. But like if I'm bored, I'll watch First Class. I thought it had some good. I mean the '60s were fun. Yeah. Like it had its moments.
It had its moments. Once was enough.
Once was enough.
That's where I put it. I kind of watched it, and like I said, I was very disillusioned and felt horrible about the last two movies. And then this one came out, and they just I was kind of hoping that they would harken back to like, okay, we're gonna do a movie that's a little more back on the path, maybe really stick to the material, and they just went completely off the rails. and with a group of X-Men, like if you're an X-Men fan and read the comic book, like this group of people don't even make sense for where they were coming in, and when Cyclops is younger than Havoc, and it's like for me it was just like I was just like, oh boy, here we go again.
Yeah, see, I was way more optimistic on it,
but better than Orange.
Oh yeah, better than Origins for sure. Everything's better than it. Doesn't exist. Everything's better than it. I will say the one biggest issue is Darwin. Like, people actually died in this movie, which is crazy. But the only black character died. Oh no, the girl with the wings lived, but like you had to kill like Darwin.
Well, and the fact that like if you're an X-Men fan and you know the characters, Darwin's incredibly difficult to kill.
Yeah,
and it was just like they put him in the movie to go like, okay, we need somebody to die to make something. Let's kill Darwin. Let's take the one character that would be the toughest to kill and take him out.
Like, he literally, the entire time I was watching that movie, I was like, oh, he's coming back. Because I know Darwin, he's going to come back for sure. And then he just never comes back. I'm like, wow, they did him dirty.
Yeah,
like, that was so
bad.
rude. He's only in the movie for like 5 minutes. They did him wrong. But I still like First Class.
Yeah.
So this one, I can't remember which comes first. The Wolverine or Days of Future Past.
It was Wolverine.
Wolverine. So you had the shit show. Oh, sorry. The other great part of First Class is when they talk to Wolverine. He tells him to fuck off.
That was my favorite part of the whole movie.
That was so good.
That was worth that right there. That, if you just cut that clip, put it on YouTube, I'll watch that every day of the week.
I'll give you my $15.
That was great. That was so great.
So now you have the Wolverine. So you come off one of the worst movies of all time, which is X-Men Origins Wolverine, and then you I can't believe they convinced Hugh Jackman to stay.
Yeah.
I can't believe he must have been under. They must have given him so much money.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. And then they also say, okay, one of the most famous Wolverine storylines, at least from what I know of, is him going to Japan.
Yeah.
Like, quintessential 80s, Frank Miller, there's ninjas, there's swords. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
What'd you think of the Wolverine?
It was a movie that I quite enjoyed. Not that I didn't have my issues with it. But to your point, some of the stuff you just brought up, ninjas, Wolverine, fighting. And I think this was the movie where you really started to see the violence of Wolverine start to come out, and then it was like, yes, I'm digging it. I'm digging the direction. Again, not that I didn't have problems with certain aspects of it, but for the most part, I really like this movie.
Yeah, like, it was still PG-13, and it was just pushing that edge, and he was like, just go. Yeah. But it's still pushing that edge. Like, my biggest gripe with it is the fact that the female lead is so young. And like, because the beginning of this movie, they established that Wolverine knew her grandpa.
Yes.
And fought in the war with her grandpa.
Yeah.
And like, her grandpa told her bedtime stories of this man.
Yes.
To then have him hook up with her?
Yeah.
I was like, that's weird, man.
But if you think about this, even Jean Grey is weird. Because he was around before any of the X-Men were, like the traditional X-Men, like your Cyclops, were even born.
Okay, but like, I'll admit, him hooking up with anybody is weird.
Yeah.
But it's weirder when this was the girl who was told bedtime stories of you.
Yes.
Like, to me, that just crosses a line.
Yeah, it definitely upped the creep factor.
Like, if this had been, he goes to Japan, his old war buddy dies, and he meets his granddaughter, and then they just hung out together.
They're just buddies.
And they're just buddies. Yeah. Would have liked this movie so much more.
Yeah.
But because of that one aspect of they hook up, it's just like, no. I'm good. Like, that almost ruined the entire... No, I wouldn't say ruined the entire movie, because it did have really good parts, but like, that really like put a kink in it for me. But other than that, the Wolverine's actually really good.
Yeah. I felt like the area that I didn't like was I was disappointed with their rendition of the Silver Samurai.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was disappointed with the, like, okay, so you got the Silver Samurai. Okay, I'm getting past it's a big robot-y body thingy.
Yeah.
But then the fact that they were like, okay, I'm going to suck your healing factor out of you by going because then I broke your claws, but then I got to drill into the spots where your claws are. It was just like really weird. Yeah. I was like, why are they doing it like this? That was my biggest issue with it. It was like, what a great movie up till this point, and then you just shit the bed with a horrible, like, I would have rather them say, made him somehow he came up with some kind of like for lack of a better word, a youth potion, a fountain of youth, made him younger, and then he just put on a silver samurai suit, and then they just went at her.
Way cooler.
Would have been way cooler. This robot thing that was then sucking the life out of him and then making him young, but not. I was like, weird. Oh, guys. What did you do?
Yeah, it was weird. Like it's one of those movies that had so much potential, and then just
him going through the village with the ninjas attached. Oh, it's just
so cool.
So awesome, especially when they had all the ropes and they were trying to hold him back. Oh,
when they're on the train and he's like, they have to jump and he tricks the guy into jumping, and
it's just like, it's so good.
Like so many good moments, and then they just like stumble so hard at the end. So I had it ranked. Maybe if I'm bored, like if I'm bored, I'll watch Wolverine. Nothing else to do, type of thing. It doesn't.
I had it ranked at same. Maybe if I'm bored.
Like it doesn't hit pretty good for me just because of that. Like a couple bad. It was just
a few things there that just stuck out that I was like, just didn't get it.
But way better than Origins.
Yeah.
So now we go. Okay, so they reestablished a new trilogy. They have a new cast of young mutants. And then now they have, Hugh Jackman's back in it. Maybe it wasn't the greatest movie of all time, but people liked the Wolverine a lot more. Now they go into Days of Futures Past, which is one of the most famous X-Men storylines, I think.
Yeah.
Would you rank it up there, like top 10 maybe?
Yeah, for a comic that was 2 issues.
Yeah, I know. Like before storylines were like massive events and whatnot.
22 issues.
Like I remember when I saw the movie before I read the comic. So when I went to go read the comic, I was expecting like this grandiose, like crazy arc, and it was like they were almost half issues because it was like other shit was going on at the same time.
Yeah.
But like Days of Future Past is pretty iconic because you had the whole like post-apocalyptic. Oh my gosh, the world is the hell. Everything's broken. Sentinels are crazy. It didn't just attack mutants, it attacked humans. Like, it was all this crazy stuff, and then we had to go back in time and try to fix it. This is a really cool movie. The part I really loved is the fact that they brought in the old cast and the new cast and had them in the same movie together.
Yeah. It was that was interesting. I felt like the beginning with those like adapting sentinels that were attacking them, and as they were trying to send somebody back in time to deal with it, to deal with the situation. Like it was great because you saw some really cool characters. You got to see some stuff that you'd never seen before, as far as not just like, oh hey, look at me, I'm Colossus, I turned metal, and that was it. Yeah. There was like some substance to some of the stuff that they were doing, and it was great. It was a great start to the movie because it really set this tone of like, holy crap, like the X-Men are getting decimated and killed off here.
Yeah.
And then moving into the movie with Wolverine going back in time, which I was kind of disappointed in the sense that they deviated from the story arc a little bit with that, but it made sense to a degree. So they sent back Wolverine and his whole reaction to like being back in the past, and it hit the mark on so many levels of like it was a lot, but not too much.
Yeah,
it was funny, but it had a serious,
it was very dark,
very serious dark tone to it.
Yeah,
it was just. I was so surprised by this movie because I was coming off of the First Class, and I was like, that just didn't do it for me. And then I got into this one, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, they knocked it out of the park with this one.
Yeah, like the pacing was so good. The balance between funny and dark was so good.
Yeah.
Like everything with the future was amazing. Like anytime they had a Sentinel and it was them like having to, fight off these Sentinels, they're barely winning or barely losing, and like, all this dark, all these people are just dying. Like you didn't know anything about Blink, or I think it was Warpath was in the movie as well. You didn't know anything about them, but every time they died, you're like, oh, I feel so bad for them. Like they were so well choreographed, and then even the storyline when they're in the past is still really interesting.
Yeah.
Like I think the only downside is they try to make you care about the villains from First Class, which I don't, like Azrael and Emma Frost and whatnot. It's like, who cares about you guys?
Don't care.
But like, the conversation with the Peter Dinklage stuff, and like again the conversations between Magneto and Xavier, how dark Xavier was, where he's like, you shot me, man, like I lost my legs because of you, and like I thought that was really interesting. And then you had the whole like Beast mystique, like you went to the dark side, come back type of thing.
Yeah.
You had the Quicksilver scene, which is so good,
funny.
so good. They did it twice,
Yes.
which I don't know if they should have done it twice, but they did it.
Oh, it was great. Like, I mean, there were a lot of great moments in the movie, and I felt like the great moments and the interesting kind of way they twisted the story made up for the trips and the falls.
Yeah. Yeah, like if there was any stumbles, they were covered up by all the good shit.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Like this is a really good movie. This is like, to me, this is the best team movie
that they've
like,
done.
Like when you have individual movies, which some of them are like the best, but then when it comes to like actual X-Men team movie, this is my favorite.
Yeah.
And I think it just, and like I said, like you still had Wolverine as a key character, but it didn't feel like he overtook the show.
No.
Because it never felt like it was his drama. It was always like he was just there to facilitate the drama. Like he's like, hey, I came back from the future, let's fix this.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones were the ones that had the drama, which seemed to make way more sense.
Yeah.
Because Wolverine has his own movies, he has his own drama. He doesn't need to worry about Xavier and Magneto hating each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I love Days of Future Past. I didn't have it as the best because I think there are some that outshine it more.
For sure.
But this is definitely like one of my top.
Pretty good. Yeah, that's exactly where I put it. I came out of the theater. I think I saw it a couple times at least in the theater, and then I've watched it a couple times since. It's a pretty good movie.
It's a pretty good movie.
It just, as far as comic books hits, it just hits all the right tones. Like, yeah, you can gripe about, like, oh, I wish we would have seen more of this character or more of that character, or they should have had this character. You can always do that with team films, but this was just like, it just had the right amount of everything for me.
Yeah.
And like you said, not completely overwhelmed. Like, yes, Wolverine was one of the main characters moving through the whole movie, but he didn't take over the movie.
No. Not like X2 and X1, where it was literally just a Wolverine show with his groupies, type of thing. Now we get into one of the best superhero / movies in general of all time, Deadpool 1.
Yes.
So you had the most egregious BS with Wolverine Origins, where they sewed his goddamn mouth shut.
Yes.
And somehow...
Which is one of the best characteristics of Deadpool.
He's literally known as Merc with the mouth.
Yeah.
And you sewed his mouth shut. So Ryan Reynolds goes, you guys did me dirty. Yeah. Let's make a movie. Fox said no. There's no way we can do an R-rated superhero movie. It's impossible. Yeah, then they accidentally leak test footage of this amazing scene. Everybody goes, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And bam, we got Deadpool.
Yes, thank you, Ryan Reynolds.
Thank you, Ryan Reynolds. Like, this movie is so good.
Yeah.
I like the only bad thing you can say about this movie, I would say, is the lack of other X-Men. Like,
how dare you?
Okay, no. That's the only complaint I've heard from other people. That's the only complaint I've heard from. Like, they would have loved to see Wolverine and him interact. They would have loved to see.
But he addresses that in the second one.
That's true. like I would have loved to see Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds riff off each other. It would have been amazing. Yeah. But like, Deadpool 1 is so good.
Oh, it's so good. It was everything I wanted in everything I could imagine I wanted in a Deadpool movie.
Yep.
It was so funny that you had to watch it multiple times to get all the jokes.
Yeah.
It had a good storyline.
Yep.
It had some interesting villains. It was just right across the board. It was just good.
Yeah.
It was just not good. It was great.
It was great.
It was great. Ryan Reynolds, again, one of my favorite comedy actors. Mm-hmm. I've liked a lot of what he was in, but this was like Van Wilder cranked up to 20. Like it was just like, let's just take the filter off.
Yeah.
And just let him do whatever he wants. And it was so good.
They literally just gave him a shit ton of cocaine and were like, just go nuts, man. Just go nuts. It's so good. Like, you can tell this is such a love letter to Deadpool.
Yes.
Like, you can feel that people actually enjoyed this character and actually like him and gave him one. You had Weasel, you had Al, you had all this, shout outs and whatnot to his character and whatnot. And he was just Deadpool, and it's exactly what you want. And they didn't hold back. They didn't do PG-13. They're like, we're going for R. Yeah. And if it hadn't been R, it would not have been as good. Like, still would have been good, but R just put it to another level.
Yeah. And right as I have to say, 1A, 1B, and I'm not even sure which order I put in this, but I think Ryan Reynolds is the 1A, 1B would be Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. 1A, you couldn't have cast Anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Oh, yeah.
There is not a single human being out there on the planet Earth before or to come that would be a better Deadpool than Ryan Reynolds.
No, like when he dies, the character's dead.
I feel like I'm professing my man crush on Ryan Reynolds. Right
it's understandable. He knows. He knows. Yeah. He accepts it. But like Deadpool was such a good time, and like I like put a stamp. So so this is going to be the hard question.
Yeah.
Is it number one? Is it the best Fox X-Men movie for you?
Best Fox X-Men movie? No.
Really?
No.
Okay. I'm curious which one is your number one. For me, I had to put Deadpool 1 as my favorite. There's a couple things with the other ones we'll get into, but like I think Deadpool 1's my like I'll watch it anytime. If it's like if I'm bored or if it's like hey I gotta go out of my way to watch it, I'll go watch it. It's so good.
Oh, I've watched it multiple times.
Find new
love
jokes.
it. We'll find all kinds of reasons to watch that movie.
Yeah, it's so good.
It was so good.
It's so good. So now you go. So they had Days of Future Past, good teen movie. Everybody liked it. They're like, okay, let's keep going with, the teen movie aspect. They even reset the timeline.
Yeah.
But then for some reason they were like, you know what? Let's keep going with James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
And they do Apocalypse. So again, Apocalypse, one of the most famous X-Men storylines of all time.
Yeah.
What happened?
I was like, to me, it was like Apocalypse. Okay.
Yeah.
Like excited, like Apocalypse. Mm-hmm. Not my most favorite X-Men villain.
Yeah.
But definitely up there.
He's cool.
Right?
He's cool.
A lot of cool storylines you can play off of. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. First time I saw the picture of Oscar Isaac in the costume, I was kind of like, okay, it is what it is. Okay, we'll go. Garbage fire.
Yeah, it was so bad.
Yeah,
like
it was just a garbage fire.
I think there are worse movies in the X-Men universe.
Origins.
Like this one for me, like we were just saying how much of a love letter Deadpool was.
Yeah.
This one for me was such a nobody cared about this movie while filming it of all time. Like you could tell all of these people were so much more famous than X-Men now.
The writers didn't care.
They didn't care either.
Nobody cared.
Nobody cared about this movie when they were making it. So like you could, as a fan, you could tell.
Yeah.
You're like, why am I giving you my money? Why am I wasting my time?
Yeah.
The other part that ticked me off the most is it was the most repetitive thing of all time.
Yeah.
Like First Class, you had the beginnings of the Magneto Xavier thing, which was interesting because X1, X2 was them in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. Then you had Days of Future Past, where there's so many other cool things going on. But, of course Magneto turns into a villain at the end.
Yeah.
Because he just has to for some reason.
Yeah.
And then you're at this point where like, Charles, just kill him. You're at the point now where you're like, Charles, come on, he's murdered millions. You gotta just let him go. So in the end, Charles lets him go. And then Apocalypse, he does it again. Magneto literally almost blows up the world. And Charles is like, we're cool.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
How many times can this man get away with killing so many people?
Yeah. It was just what I found frustrating about it was you had Apocalypse, good character, and then I was like, okay, I'm curious to see who he goes with, like who becomes the horseman.
That was the most hyped thing,
and that was just a travesty. It was so bad. Even their attempt to have Archangel or Death, it was bad. It was just bad.
Yeah, I feel so bad. I shouldn't feel so bad for Jennifer Lawrence because she's super rich and famous now. Yeah. But you could tell she was like, "Come on, guys, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Why am I here?"
Yeah, there was only there was only one other movie she was in where I saw her want to not be in a movie more.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk.
Yeah, and we're talking about that one.
Yeah, she. Yeah. And the worst part is, like we said, usually I never cared about Mystique, but First Class made me care about Mystique. But it can only go so far. Yeah. It's not like Mystique's this crazy depth character that has all this they tried to make her a main X-Men, which to me is like, what are you doing? Yeah. I think if they had actually taken this Mystique and turned her into a villain, see the progression of I'm a hero, I waver to Darkseid, but then I'm actually committing to villainy, would have been way more interesting.
Yeah, it was I didn't even like the fact that she was reintroduced into this new rendition of coming out of the First Class. I was just like, just like, okay, so she meets Professor X, and then they're buddies and they're friends and they go to college together, and I was just like, why are we dealing with this character again? There are so many other X-Men that you could have brought in that would have made more sense, number one, and just would have made it different. You know, instead you rehashed a character because you were like, hey, let's knock it out of the park with another actress that we can bring in. Who can we make her? Oh, we'll make her Mystique.
Yeah.
You know, like it was just a bad movie.
Like, if she had been a redhead, she would have been Jean Grey for sure. But
yeah.
like,
for sure.
Like, you're not a redhead. You can be Mystique. We'll let you be blonde or whatever. So, but like, yeah, Apocalypse was just such a letdown. And like, it did, like, the only good part I think would have been like Storm. Like you said, she was a really good Storm. Yeah, and like her with the mohawk was sick.
Yeah, I liked her as Storm.
And like, but it's just one of those things where it's like you feel so bad for her because it's like you had so much potential, but then you're such a crap movie.
It was even Moon, the one that played Psylocke.
Oh, Olivia Munn.
Yeah, Munn. She like even her. I was like, hey, you know, she actually looks kind of what I would expect. Like, this is good.
Yeah.
And it was just like another person I felt bad for because it was probably super hyped. Like, wow, I'm in a big blockbuster movie with all these actors that don't care that they're here. Yeah, like it was just bad.
Oh yeah, like it's so sad.
And then Apocalypse, like,
nothing.
What was his power set?
No,
I didn't even understand what was going on. I was like, is this some stand-in for Apocalypse? Yeah. Am I getting duped with the Mandarin again? Is this what's going on with this?
I mean,
this was garbage.
I mean, admittedly, Dave, what's Apocalypse's power in the comic books? I don't even know.
Super strength.
Yeah.
He's based on I guess his overarching power set from the day one. They've constantly said they don't even know what his powers are, but I mean he's demonstrated before that he's got the ability to kind of like Mr. Fantastic. He can shapeshift to some degree as far as stretching arms out and everything else. I've seen him let loose with blasts, but whether that's his armor or not, he's got certain power sets that I was expecting to see in the movie, and then it was just like, hi, we just have a whole different idea of what Apocalypse looks like.
Like, he literally didn't do anything.
No, Apocalypse is huge.
Yeah.
Like, hello, CGI, something. I don't know. Yeah. Like, it was just
they should have, like, if he had been more like Thanos, would have been so much better.
Oh, way better.
Like Thanos is what Apocalypse should have been. Yeah. Like so much better.
Yeah, I just what I didn't like about it was the fact that, like, you're right. I mean, what are exactly Apocalypse's overall powers? These are the powers that I've seen in the comic books, but it was just like they went, nah, we'll just do our own thing, and it's just like, so you went in as a comic book fan expecting to see certain things, and then he never did any of that, and then he just did stuff.
Yeah. Like, he was just there. He was there so Magneto could get angry again. Like, that was what he was there for. And again, Magneto, like, dude, you, like, at some point you gotta be arrested and just put down. Like, like, you can't be trusted with anything.
No.
Like, man, what about it? So I had it as Once Was Enough. I think there's worse movies out of all the X-Men movies. Like, this was such a just, like, movie.
Yeah, Once Was Enough. That's where I had it.
Yeah. So now you have... So they did another T movie, but guess what? It's time again for Wolverine.
Yeah.
But it's R-rated.
Yes.
Dude, Logan is so good. I love Logan. Do you not love Logan?
Let me get it out.
I'm looking at your reaction.
This was one of those movies that I went to see and I was like, okay, Logan, are they doing Old Man Logan? Mm-hmm. It was kind of that very first scene where he's sleeping off a drunk night in his limousine and they're trying to lift his tires and he comes out and the whole, like, I can't get my claws out all the way, I'm taking a beating at first, and then he just goes savage on him and just absolutely animalistic, just chops them all up. And the gory level of which they did it, I was like, this is going to be so good. And it was great.
Logan's so good.
So good.
So good.
It was so good.
Like, to me, like, they did deviate a lot. Like, they kind of almost made their entire own storyline from, like, they didn't base it off of anything comics, which in the end was fine. Yeah. Like, they did such a good job with the story. Like, the whole like, she's X-23 it's a clone of you. The whole who killed all, like, so I mentioned this earlier in Old Man Logan in the storyline. It was Wolverine that killed all the X-Men.
Yeah.
But then to flip it and have Xavier be the one that killed all of them, that was so cool.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
This was actually, I have to say, like, this is one of the few superhero movies where they changed and switched so much shit that I would normally get so angry with that I was like, I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
It's one of the movies that I just didn't care that they changed stuff because they either did a good job with how they changed it, or the movie was just so damn good I didn't care that they changed it.
Yeah, like X-23, you know, for the longest time has always been a teenager and like angsty teenager, all that crap. But like to see a little kid brutally murder all those grown men was amazing.
It was good.
It was like when she walks out holding that guy's head and just kicks it towards him, like, what the fuck you want? Like, so good.
Yeah, it was good. What I liked about it was, you know, not only was it like at the rating and as far as the visceral violence that you saw that you would I would expect from a Wolverine movie, it had a great story.
Yeah.
A great story.
It was really good.
And a lot of emotion. And, I mean, how can you get wrong with a little Wolverine on Wolverine action?
Yeah.
Young Wolverine versus old Wolverine.
What you got.
You know, and both of them are Hugh Jackman. It's just awesome. You know, it was just so good.
And Peter, Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Wow, what a performance.
Yeah.
Like, the dementia and, like, how awful he looked.
Yeah.
Like, wow, he was great.
Yeah.
Wow, like
really good.
Really good.
I was happy to see Caliban in the movie.
That
I wish we would have seen like the bigger hulked out version of Caliban. Just for fun.
Yeah. At least once.
But it was good to see you know, Caliban was in it. If there was any gripe that I could even, I mean, and this is really stretching, it would have been, give me more Reavers.
Yeah, that's
give me
true.
more of the Reavers, because the Reavers are fun.
Yeah.
But you know what? Whatever.
Yeah.
It was just so good.
You want to hear my like nerdiest gripe of all time? And it's I have this issue with a lot of different things. Telepathy versus telekinesis.
Yeah.
So telepathy is mind reading and mind control. Yep. Telekinesis is moving things with your mind. The scene where they're in the hotel and he's having a seizure or an episode or whatever because he's trying to stop them from killing him.
Yeah.
There's points in which Wolverine just slowly walks by and stabs people.
Oh, so good.
It was good, but they should have dropped. Because if they're dead, he can't mind control them to pause.
Yes.
Like, that bogged me a lot, and I was like, that's the most,
maybe he was holding them up.
But no, he doesn't have telekinesis.
That's true.
He doesn't have telekinesis, so they should have dropped him in. But that's the most, like, minute detail of all time. Like, that doesn't matter. Yeah. But, like, I remember seeing...
That was such a great scene.
It was such a good scene. He's, like, struggling and, like, all that stuff. But, like, man, what a great movie. And, like,
so good.
And
Hugh Jackman was brilliant. Like, I mean, I liked him as Wolverine. I liked him even more as Old Man Wolverine. Like, just a cantankerous shithead that
just done with everything.
Just wants his boat.
I just want to go home. I just want to leave.
Yeah.
He should have moved to Canada, man. He should have moved to Canada. Exactly. It would have been so much better. And like I said, like S-23 was amazing. I did enjoy because it had the same feel as Days of Future Past, where it's like you have a future in which the X-Men fail. Yeah. And what does that look like? And you definitely had this. I mean, the X-Men technically didn't fail; they just got wiped out by Xavier, which technically is them failing. But like you had this future where the mutants were getting kidnapped and like all these kids were getting tortured and whatnot. Yeah. But like the scene where he finally finds them and then they beat the shit out of the Reavers and murder all those children are murder ready to go. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's go kill those people. Like, yeah, go children, go murder children. Like I've heard some people complain like, oh, I don't like children violence because they have kids and they're afraid of their kids killing them or something like that. But I was like, yo, those kids deserve to stab.
I don't think I was more. I for any of these movies, I don't think I was more hyped up than when Wolverine jacked himself up with all those steroids and was just running through the forest, hacking guys up as he went along, knowing that you were like, okay, he's gonna now he's back up at full strength and he's gonna go at that other Wolverine and this is just gonna be amazing.
The final
it was so awesome.
And then when he was dead and they put the X on him and whatnot. And it was like, yeah, that's a good. That's
the only thing I felt like I was like, no, I can't. Like, okay, just let this be a standalone kind of its own thing, because no, Hugh, you can't be dead.
No,
you can't be you can't be dead. You got to keep coming back and playing this character until you're way too old to play this character.
You gotta be older, man, Logan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but like Logan's so good. But where do you rank it?
The best.
It's your number one?
Overall, number one overall. No, not my number one overall. I would say it's second.
Okay.
But I ranked it in the top tier as far as tiers.
The only reason it's not higher for me is because I'm a sucker for comedies.
Yeah.
Like if like I love comedies so much that like I'm always gonna vote for them more. But like Logan like is such a good movie. Like just even outside superheroes, it's such a good movie. So highly recommend.
Yeah.
So now again, switching gears from Logan to again our best buddy, good guy Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool 2.
Yes.
What were your expectations going into Deadpool 2? Do you think it was gonna live up to the hype?
I was hoping it would. I was kind of like, okay, I hope this is like just if I came out of there and I was like, hey, this was just as good as the first one, I would have been more than happy.
Yeah.
I was hoping obviously that it's not like one of those sequels, like a lot of the sequels that you come out and you're like, oh god, please don't do that again.
Yeah.
And when it came out and I went and saw it, I was like, how did you make a sequel better than the original? Ryan Reynolds, you beautiful genius.
You son of a bitch.
You can have my money.
You can have all my money.
Multiple times.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Like
this one was quite literally a movie that I watched. There were two things that stuck out for me. I watched it, and then I was like, I have to immediately go see that again from a very serious standpoint of just like, I was laughing so hard, I missed so many jokes.
Yeah.
I have to go back and see it again so I understand the full force that Ryan Reynolds is forcing upon me.
Yeah.
You had Cable.
Yep.
Awesome.
So good.
You had, obviously, Ryan Reynolds' is Deadpool. You had surprises as in the X-Force.
It's a little bit derivative.
And then what happened to X-Force?
Yeah.
And then the Juggernaut. And it was just like, oh my god, it was like he reached into my brain and pulled everything out that I wanted to see in this movie.
Yeah.
And then, as we said, harken back to his original rendition of Deadpool, cutting up bullets.
Yeah.
And he's swinging his sword to cut these bullets that Cable's shooting at him, and then he stops and he's just riddled with holes. Like, what a shout out! Like,
and then the end scene too, where he goes back in time to execute himself. It was so
not
good.
just to execute himself, but just the pure I love the obviously he goes back and shoots himself as Deadpool from Origins. Shoots himself, when he's reading the script for Green Lantern. Like, just all of those little things as he goes along. It was just comic. Genius. Genius.
And I feel like this is, again, a situation of really good balance. Like, it had some of the best comedy of all time, but, like, you had Cable being there, adding the drama.
Yeah.
And, like, he didn't overshadow the joy. Like, he still had his... Like, Deadpool playing off of Cable was so funny, because the Cable's being so serious.
Yes,
yeah. It's a fanny pack, you sick son of a bitch! And he's just casually opening a fanny pack, like, no big deal.
What really stuck out to me is any movie that I can go to, and Ryan Reynolds is so far with Deadpool 2 is the only one that's managed to do this. I'm sitting there watching the movie, and as X-Force is slowly dying horrible deaths in various different ways, I'm distracted.
Yeah.
I'm distracted by the fact that my wife, who is not a violent person, does not like violent movies, does not buy into this stuff, is not the hugest superhero fan, is laughing so crazily at everything that's happening. I was so distracted. It was like when I went in and watched it the second time, I actually saw the rest of the scene because I was so distracted by my wife losing her mind with laughter at all the various different ways that these guys were dying.
Yeah. Oh, it was, and you didn't see it coming.
Oh, not at all.
Like, you expected them to be in like the rest of the movie or something. Like, you'd be like, oh yeah, it's just a teen movie now, like whatever. Like, oh man, it was so good. And then like the whole Brad Pitt thing.
Yeah, so well done.
So funny. Like, go home, Sugar Bear.
Yeah.
Like, Dopinder, amazing.
Yeah.
Dopinder had some of the best lines of all time. I am Kirsten Dunst from Interview with a Vampire. I crave blood. And then also, like, I can't remember the kid's name, but that New Zealand kid.
Oh yeah!
Wow, that was the expectations were so low for him, but he blew it out of the park. He was great. My prison wallet.
It was just so good.
It was
just so good, and I was so happy that a second one even came out.
Oh yeah,
and just how they managed to just absolutely 100% exceed every one of my expectations of a sequel.
Yeah.
And make it that much funnier, that better, and just make and the constant like making fun of itself, making fun of Ryan Reynolds himself, making fun of Hugh Jackman and Wolverine. Like, it was just.
Oh, when he's going through the X Mansion, he's like, "Well, couldn't afford any more X Men."
Yeah,
and the other X Men are in the background.
Oh, so good.
My only gripe, and like, again, it's just so small, it doesn't matter, but like, I just have to point it out, is like they're building up the Essex thing again, but like the shit they were doing with the Essex thing was so dark. Like, the fact that they tortured all the kids they had, they tortured the New Zealand kid, they tortured like Domino. Domino reveals, like, I was here and it was fucking sucked. Like, the fact that they didn't murder more of them makes me mad. Like, they kill all the people who work there, and they kill the lead person. Yeah, they should have killed more of them. Like, probably the amount of bullshit going on was insane.
It was. It was just so good, so good.
So you just saw me. I just moved it up to my number one movie. You convinced me. I had Deadpool 1 as my number one. I think the only reason I had it originally as my number one is just because I felt like there was a couple moments in number two where it was a little bit repetitive from number one. Like, they did the, chop the baby hand and then said they did the legs. But again, it was kind of like, you just kind of repeating yourself. Yeah. And then you had the whole, like, Vanessa storyline and whatnot again. Yeah. So, like, there were a couple things where I'm like, it takes away from, like, it's a little bit of repeat. But then, like you said, like, the X-Force scene and, like, all the extra stuff they tossed in, it's such a good movie. Like, I'll watch it anytime it's on TV. Yeah.
Like, it just, I can't even fully express how joyful that movie made me when I watched it.
And yeah, you're right.
Even the fifth time.
Oh yeah,
it was just so good.
Because like you said, like, you're so busy laughing the first time that when you go back, you hear all the other jokes they say 5 seconds after, and you're like, wow, that's also hilarious.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, what is it, the fourth wall? Yeah. So the way Ryan Reynolds pulls off the talking to the audience in the fourth wall is just outstanding. Yeah, you couldn't have nailed it any better than that. Just
and then the Celine Dion music video.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, let's just top it off. Let's do the number one. We're gonna write a song. Number two, we're gonna get Celine Dion to sing it, and then number three, screw it. Let's do a Celine Dion music video. And she's like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Let's do it. I just like...
She's like, I'm in. And then Ryan Reynolds is like, hey, can you tone it down a bit? Yeah. Like, this is Deadpool, not Titanic. Like, come on. Yeah, exactly. Like, it was, like, everything about this movie was so good.
So good.
And then, so we go off from that, such a good note, such a high note. The best X movie to Dark Phoenix.
Yes.
Like, so they didn't learn their lesson. So 20 years ago, they did Last Stand. They're like, you know what? We did Dark Phoenix. It didn't go over well.
Double down.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, double down.
Not only that, let's bring back the cast that for sure doesn't want to be in this movie.
Yes.
So much.
Do you know what's better than a Dark Phoenix? What? Another Dark Phoenix.
Another Dark Phoenix. Well, you know what's better than everybody hating themselves in Age of Apocalypse? Them hating themselves more in Dark Phoenix.
Absolutely.
Like, they like, Jennifer Lawrence, you could see it the second she was on screen. She's like, please kill me.
Yeah.
Please kill me.
I think it was just like you could see, like, as much as she didn't want to be there was a giddiness in her about the fact that she knew she was going to die.
She knew she was going to die.
And she somehow had that written into her contract or something. She's like, I'm going to die. I'm so glad I don't have to be here the whole time.
She's like, if you don't kill me, I will kill you in real life.
Yeah.
She's like, please. Same thing. I think I felt so bad for James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender that they didn't get killed. Those poor bastards. They needed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, the whole franchise is dead. But like, they should have just put out their misery. Like,
it wasn't the worst. It wasn't the worst of the worst movies.
No.
It was. You know, I remember watching it. I think I watched it on a plane actually. I watched it on a plane and I was like, okay, that was a thing.
Yeah.
You know, it was what it was. It just lacked anything.
Lacked a soul.
Yeah.
And apparently this is a very similar situation where New Mutants, where they were trying to build up to something, but then like the whole Disney merger happened and they're like, never mind.
Do you know what? I feel like Fox with all these movies, as they were saying, like, let's build up to something. They didn't know what they were building up to. They just like were like, what? They have end credit scenes? Let's do some.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, what the hell is any of this?
Like there was no direction, and they were trying to make direction, and then it just ended up falling flat so hard.
Yeah.
And like, man, Dark Phoenix, I don't know. Like, it's not as bad as Origins, because at least Origins is like so bad you remember how bad it was.
Yeah.
This, I don't remember anything about it. Like, I don't remember what happens in this movie to really criticize. There's one random scene where they're on the train. When they're on the train, that's pretty interesting because they have some cool fight scenes.
Yeah.
But the issue with it is like, I don't know. It just felt so like. Yeah, we have one cool scene, but it's just like one firework and then there's nothing else. Yeah. And it's like, wow, what a lame firework show. Like, they had so much potential. Did she die at the end? I don't remember. Phoenix?
I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, I had it. I didn't have Pretend It Doesn't Exist. I had it. Once was enough.
Yeah,
like, it was so mediocre.
And it's sad because I liked a lot of the, like, I liked the younger kid that they had playing Nightcrawler.
Yeah, he was great.
You know, like, he was good.
Storm.
I like the young guy that they had playing Cyclops.
Yeah, he was good.
Other than the fact that he was a little bit of a whiny bitch when it came to Jean.
It's the same issue every Cyclops has.
Yeah,
Cyclops is a whiny bitch.
Yeah, and I don't know why, because he's not like that in the like.
I disagree.
He's not like that with Jean Grey.
Oh, okay.
Like in this, it's like, hey, I'm the leader of the X-Men. Is that okay, Jean?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, oh, God.
But, like, I've read Avengers vs. X-Men. He's a piece of shit, so...
Oh, he's a piece of shit. That's what I like about it.
But, like, yeah, Dark Phoenix is just... Or is it just Phoenix? I don't know. Whatever. It's just such a... You could tell they were done. It's just... Like, it's just... They were so done.
Yeah.
Is it worse than Apocalypse or better? What do you... It doesn't matter.
Actually, I thought it was better.
Oh, really?
I thought it was better than Apocalypse. Just because my expectations were so low...
Yeah.
That it actually exceeded my expectations because
like
they were so low.
Apocalypse, you had to compare it against Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Phoenix, you had to compare it to Apocalypse. Yeah. So it's like the bars were so different.
Oh, yeah. So different.
Yeah. So, and then that's how you kind of... Oh, no. Sorry. And then New Mutants came out.
Yeah.
And then, like, we already gave our review for New Mutants.
Yeah.
It's a decent show, just stumbled a lot. Where would you rank it in your...
Once was enough.
Once was enough? Yeah. I'll agree with that. Like, it was fine.
Yeah.
It had potential. So yeah, that's our ranking of the X-Men movies. You know, Wolverine and Logan and Deadpool, amazing.
There is an opportunity.
What's the opportunity?
There's an opportunity for a movie to move past Deadpool.
Daredevil.
Yeah, I wish Daredevil.
Yeah.
Past Deadpool.
Really? How?
Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
And this is my pitch.
Yeah.
This is my begging.
Marvel, you listen.
Marvel, whoever. I don't even care who produces this thing really, because this message is to two particular individuals. Ryan Reynolds, please do a third one.
Yeah.
Number one, please.
Mm-hmm.
I want this so bad.
Yeah.
And Hugh Jackman. Please, just one more time, come back as Wolverine and add to this compilation of Cable, Wolverine, and Deadpool.
Oh man!
Just once, just one. I'm just asking for one movie. I've never asked for anything this big in my entire life. I need. No, I don't want. I need this to happen.
Yeah.
I feel if this doesn't happen, I will die earlier than what I think I should live to.
His life is on the line.
My life is on the line here.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, very nice human being from what Ryan Reynolds keeps saying.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, great guy, Canadian guy.
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah.
please. This is my pitch. Please make this happen.
And it's not like Marvel doesn't have the money.
No.
Like whatever their blank check, just whatever you want to come back.
Yeah, if I can in any way contribute to that,
Yeah,
I would.
Go fund me. Go fund me.
I will.
Go. So X-Men Fox since 2000. So we have a 20-year history of this. We have some good movies. We have some garbage fires. So what do you think is your number one takeaway that Disney can learn from this?
The Disney can learn, I think, as they inevitably roll out their version of the X-Men. I think they can see that R-rated movies can happen.
Yep, they make money.
They make money and they do well with the right characters. I mean, if you took characters that didn't make sense,
Cyclops R-rated.
The Beast R-rated.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It wouldn't make any sense. But you can do the right thing. I think everybody, unless it's a Hugh Jackman Deadpool, which again, please make this damn movie. I think they've learned, okay, we've had enough Wolverine.
Yeah.
So please focus on the other characters a little more as you go through. Don't double down on Dark Phoenix.
No, stop. Let it go.
just,
she's dead. She's
you know what?
already dead.
Darkest Phoenix. Please, just let it go. I think with what they've done with the Avengers, I think it's more about what they've learned not to do.
Yeah.
Start it slow.
Yeah.
Add characters as you go along. Build into a team movie so that you get all that origin crap out of the way, and then you can just jump into a team movie. But if there was one thing that I could say they could get away, or they could learn from this, is that I felt like in more than a few of these movies, the bad guys were interesting characters because they allowed them to have a story. They weren't just the big bad that came in to kill everybody.
Yeah, well, at least the bad ones, like the terrible ones.
Yeah, the terrible ones. You can do this, and there's some interesting stories that are there. You know, don't just gloss over that.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that they could learn from these movies.
Yeah, like Magneto was good until they started repeating him too much.
Yeah.
You know, like you had Reavers and all that stuff. I think my biggest takeaway Disney should have is the best part about X-Men is the interaction between the teams.
Yeah.
Like I think Deadpool and Logan are the three best movies out of the whole franchise, but those are such like 1 in a million chance those would be so perfect. I don't think there's many other X-Men characters that would be that well individually. No. But then you have like Days of Future Past and X-Men 1 and X2 where you have these team dynamic groups and you give enough of them time to shine and time to like show off their powers and whatnot. That's in First Class. I'll throw that in there even though Dave disagrees. I think that's like kind of like what you go. And then once you get that group dynamic down, you see who the fan favorites are, who's the really standout actors. Then you go individual movies like you did with Logan and you did with Deadpool and whatnot. Like I think that's the biggest takeaway is just remember why X-Men is good.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they roll it out. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see who they cast in the various different films. I just I hope that as much as the Avengers, like I can nitpick the Marvel movies to death all the time in the sense of deviation from stories and everything else, but for the most part, they were good movies, they were entertaining movies, and they built on something from one to the next. And I can't say that I disliked any of them, even Thor, the second one, Thor 2. I actually went back and watched that just recently, and I was like, actually, this wasn't that as bad as I thought it was. Yeah. Like, they've done a good job the whole way through. So don't rush it. Don't go X-Men and just chuck 50 X-Men into the movie. I think there's a lot of valuable lessons that they could learn in the sense of what not to do.
Yeah, which is very fair. So yeah, that's our rundown of the Fox X-Men Legacy. It was an interesting 20 years. Yeah, let us know what you guys think. We are on YouTube, and so I will post our rankings so you guys can physically see them on YouTube if you want. Other than that, make sure to follow us on whatever platform you found us on, and we'll see you all next time.